Okay, so money, right? I think it's something we all kind of have a complicated relationship with.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into that today through this book, Personal Finance, Rational Spending, Saving, and Financial Freedom.
Okay.
And one of the things that really struck me right off the bat, the author talks about this session that he had with 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
And like some of them were like young, in debt, others were older, like had millions.
Oh, wow.
But everyone, every single person in that room expressed fear about money.
Fear.
Yeah. Isn't that kind of wild?
That is wild. That is really interesting.
Like it makes you think, right? Like if we're all playing by the rules, like why are we all so scared?
It's a really good question. Yeah, it suggests that maybe it's not just about like having financial security or like having enough money, you know?
Right.
There's something else going on there.
Totally. And I know I've definitely felt that fear myself. So I guess the question is, like, where do we even begin to unpack this?
Right.
And one of the things that the book talks about is this idea of narrow framing as like a trap that we often fall into.
Okay.
So what exactly is that? Like, can you break that down for us?
So narrow framing, think of it this way. Imagine you're trying to save for a down payment on a house.
Okay.
But at the same time, you're also like racking up credit card debt.
Uh-huh.
So that's narrow framing. You're kind of tackling those financial decisions like in isolation. You're not really considering the bigger picture.
I see.
It's like, you know, trying to run a marathon, but you're dragging like a weight behind you.
Ooh, I like that.
You know?
Yeah.
So instead of focusing on individual purchases or bills, maybe we should be thinking about our like overall approach to money, you know?
Right. So instead of just like thinking about that one purchase or that one bill, it's like, how do we think about our money like as a system?
Exactly. It's about, the book suggests like viewing our financial decisions as like a policy for recurring problems, right?
Yeah.
So if you have like a solid system in place, like you're consistently saving a portion of your income, you're less likely to like panic when those unexpected expenses pop up. Right?
That makes a lot of sense. So it's about creating that sustainable system rather than just like constantly reacting to every little financial blip that comes our way.
Right, exactly.
Okay. And speaking of systems, the book talks about financial independence as a journey with like these 4 distinct levels.
Oh, interesting.
And, you know, it's not just about being rich, right?
Right.
What's like the core idea behind this concept of financial independence?
So it's about reclaiming control over your life, right?
Okay.
And it all starts with what the book calls sovereignty of mind.
Sovereignty of mind.
Yes. And it's basically like freeing yourself from, you know, the pressure of consumerism, societal expectations. It's about defining your own values and, you know, making conscious choices about like how you engage with the economy.
So it's like, instead of feeling like you need like the newest phone or like a bigger house, you know, because everyone else seems to be chasing those things.
Right.
It's like you're defining what truly matters to you.
Exactly. Exactly. You're not letting those like external forces dictate your financial decisions, you know? You're in the driver's seat.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy. So, okay, so that's like step 1, sovereignty of mind, like getting clear on our values, not letting those external pressures kind of dictate our decisions. What's like the next step on this journey to financial independence?
So level 2 is all about debt elimination.
Okay.
It's about breaking free from that cycle of, you know, living paycheck to paycheck, constantly being weighed down by those interest payments.
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling of just being like trapped by debt.
Yeah.
It can feel very overwhelming.
Yeah.
So what's the book's take on like, how do we actually tackle that?
The key here is to shift your focus, right?
Okay.
From instant gratification to long-term opportunities. Okay.
So instead of like, you know, buying that new gadget, what if you like invested that money in your education, you know, or started a side hustle?
Oh, interesting.
Things that like might not offer immediate returns.
Right.
But, you know, they have the potential to like significantly improve your financial well-being in the long run.
So it's like playing the long game. It's making choices that are going to pay off down the road, not just like that instant gratification hit.
Exactly. Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. So we've got, you know, step 1, sovereignty of mind. Step 2, we're tackling that debt. We're getting out of that cycle. What's next?
So once you've started, you know, tackling that debt, the next step is building a safety net.
Okay.
What the book calls an emergency fund.
An emergency fund. That sounds pretty crucial. So what's like the recommended approach? Like, how do we build that up?
The book recommends aiming for 6 months worth of like living expenses saved up.
6 months, wow.
I know it might sound daunting, especially if you're already kind of struggling to make ends meet.
But having that buffer can make all the difference when those unexpected events like pop up, you know?
It's like that saying, expect the unexpected.
Yeah, exactly.
Life has a way of throwing those curveballs, so having that financial cushion can be provide some much needed peace of mind.
Exactly. It's about being prepared for those financial storms, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a job loss or, medical bill, sudden car repair.
Right. Okay, so we've got, step 1, step 2, step 3. We're building that emergency fund. What's that final level of financial independence?
Okay, so level 4 is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
This is about generating passive income.
Ooh, passive income.
Yeah, creating a stream of income that works for you even while you're sleeping.
Okay, now that sounds like the dream. But how do you actually achieve that? That seems like a very elusive concept.
It typically involves investing, right?
Good.
Whether it's in real estate or, the stock market,
Yeah.
or other assets that generate returns over time. It's about putting your money to work for you.
Okay, so it's not just about saving. It's about making your money grow, making it work harder for you.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. Now, the book also talks a lot about the importance of numeracy and emotional control when it comes to finances.
Okay.
So can you break those down for us?
So numeracy is basically like the ability to understand and work with numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's about being able to make sense of things like compound interest,
Okay.
which the book argues is crucial whether you're, borrowing or saving. It's like, it's like a secret weapon
Okay.
that can either work for you or against you.
Right.
So understand how it works can make, a huge difference in your financial journey.
I'll admit, compound interest, I've always kind of struggled to wrap my head around that. So, like for those of us who maybe aren't math whizzes, any tips?
I think the key is to find resources that explain it in a clear and relatable way. Okay.
There are some great, videos and articles online that kind of break it down step by step.
Okay.
And once you grasp the concept, it can be incredibly motivating to see how even small, consistent investments can grow exponentially over time.
Yeah, it's like planting a seed and watching it grow into this, huge tree.
Exactly.
Okay, and what about the emotional side of things?
Yeah.
Why is emotional control so important when it comes to making financial decisions?
Well, as we talked about earlier, fear can be like a really powerful driver in our financial choices, right? And the book suggests that, adopting a broader framing,
Okay.
thinking long-term, and avoiding overreacting to small gains and losses
Right.
can lead to, much better outcomes.
Yeah.
So instead of panicking every time the market dips,
Right.
try to zoom out and remember, your long-term investment goals.
So it's take a deep breath,
Exactly.
resist those knee-jerk reactions and stick to the plan. It's exactly.
Be intentional, be thoughtful with our financial choices rather than just letting our emotions kind of drive the bus.
Exactly. Financial decisions are rarely purely rational,
Right.
Our emotions, our biases, our past experiences, they all come into play.
Right.
Recognizing that can, help us make more informed and balanced choices.
Okay. And that brings us to another fascinating point that the book makes, which is that more money doesn't automatically equal more happiness.
Right.
Which, I think really challenges the way that we've been conditioned to think about wealth and success.
Totally. It's a powerful reminder that, true happiness comes from within, not from external possessions or achievements. Money can, certainly enhance our lives and provide opportunities, but it's not the sole source of fulfillment.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people chase that more money equals more happiness myth,
Right.
only to find themselves feeling empty and unfulfilled,
Yeah.
even when they achieve financial success.
Yeah.
So if money isn't the key to happiness, then what is?
Right.
The book talks about this concept of life energy and how tracking our spending can kind of reveal where it's truly going. Can you elaborate on that?
So it's about becoming more mindful, right?
Okay.
Of how you're allocating your time, your money, and your energy.
Okay.
And by tracking your spending, you can identify patterns and make adjustments to align your financial choices with your values and priorities.
Right.
You know, it's like, are you spending your money on things that truly bring you joy and fulfillment?
Right.
Or are you just like caught in a cycle of mindless consumption?
Yeah, that's such a powerful question to ask ourselves. It's
Yeah.
like becoming more conscious of those spending habits and making sure that they're aligned with our values.
Exactly.
What
Yeah.
truly matters to us.
It's not just about, you know, pinching pennies. It's about making sure your money is working for you
Right.
in a way that like supports your overall well-being and happiness.
Totally. So it's about like investing in what truly matters, whether that's experiences, relationships, personal growth, whatever,
Yeah.
like brings you joy and meaning.
Exactly.
Okay, so speaking of like investing in what matters, the book also offers some really interesting advice on raising financially savvy kids,
Oh, cool.
which as a parent, I'm always looking for tips on how to like teach my kids about money in a way that empowers them rather than scares them.
Right, right.
So what were some of the key takeaways from the book on that?
Okay, well, I loved this part too.
Yeah.
The author actually consulted Warren Buffett's bankers
Oh, wow.
for advice on raising financially smart kids.
Whoa.
And they emphasize the importance of being like open and honest with children about finances from a young age.
So it's like demystifying money, making it a normal topic of conversation in the family.
Exactly.
Right.
And they also stress the importance of not tying chores to allowance.
Oh, interesting.
Chores are about like contributing to the family, you know. It's
Right.
not about earning money. It's about teaching kids the value of, you know, hard work and responsibility.
That's such a good point, because I think sometimes we inadvertently send the message that everything has like a price tag, you know,
Right.
even basic contributions to the family.
Yeah. And the final piece of advice was to let them make mistakes.
Yeah.
Allow them to like make small financial blunders
No, that's good.
while the stakes are still low,
Right.
so that they can learn those valuable lessons early on.
Oh, yeah, because it's better for them to like learn from a $5 mistake
Right.
than a, you know, $5,000 mistake later in life.
Exactly.
Okay. And speaking of like challenging conventional wisdom, the book also tackles that whole more is better
Yeah.
mentality when it comes to money.
Right.
And it introduces this alternative concept of enough.
Oh,
Can you
okay.
explain what that means?
So it's about recognizing that our needs and desires are often like shaped by external forces, right?
Yeah.
You know, advertising, social media, societal expectations. And the concept of enough encourages us to like step back and examine what truly matters to us,
Okay.
independent of these external influences.
So it's about finding that sweet spot
Yes.
where you have everything you need to live a fulfilling life
Right.
without feeling the need to constantly acquire more.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that true wealth isn't, you know, measured solely by our bank balance, but by the richness of our experiences, our
Right.
relationships, and, you know, our overall well-being.
I love that. That's a really powerful shift in perspective, like moving away from that scarcity mindset
Yeah.
and embracing a more abundant and fulfilling way of life.
Totally.
And it ties back to that idea of financial independence, right?
Right.
It's not just about having a lot of money. It's about having the freedom to live a life that truly aligns with your values and aspirations.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think that's a goal we can all aspire to. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this first part of our deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, from, you know, understanding our relationship with money to exploring this concept of financial independence and the importance of, you know, aligning our spending with our values.
Yes.
But there's so much more to unpack, so much more to explore.
I know. It's been a fascinating conversation.
Yeah, it has.
And I think we've only just scratched the surface
Right.
of all the insights and wisdom that's packed into this book.
Totally. So in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to delve even deeper into these concepts. We're going to explore some practical strategies for, you know, putting these ideas into action. So stay tuned.
You know, it's interesting. We often talk about financial goals just in terms of numbers, like hitting a certain savings target or paying off, you know, a specific amount of debt.
Right.
But this concept of enough really shifts the focus away from those like quantifiable goals to something much more personal and subjective.
It's almost like a reframing of the whole idea of success, isn't it? Like, instead of chasing after some external measure of wealth,
Yeah.
it's like, what does a rich and fulfilling life look like for you?
Precisely. And it ties back to that idea of sovereignty of mind that we talked about in the first part.
Right.
It's about freeing yourself from those societal pressures, that tell you that you need to constantly be striving for more.
Right.
It's about recognizing that you already have everything you need to be happy and fulfilled.
But how do you actually put that into practice?
Right.
It's easy to say, be content with what you have, but we're constantly bombarded with messages telling us to buy more, do more, be more.
Right.
How do you tune out that noise?
Well, it starts with awareness,
Okay.
Pay attention to the messages that you're consuming, whether it's, advertising, social media, or even conversations with friends and family.
Right.
And notice how those messages make you feel.
Okay.
Do they make you feel inadequate, envious, or do they inspire you to live a more, authentic and meaningful life?
That's a great point, yeah.
Yeah.
It's about being mindful of those influences that are shaping our desires.
Yes.
And making sure that those influences are actually aligned with our values.
Exactly.
And speaking of influences, the book also talks about how our upbringing and past experiences can shape our relationship with money.
Oh, for sure.
Have you seen that play out in your own life?
Absolutely. I grew up in a family where money was like a constant source of stress. My parents were always worried about making ends meet.
Right.
And that anxiety definitely rubbed off on me, and it took a lot of conscious effort to unlearn those patterns of scarcity and fear.
Right.
And embrace a more abundant mindset.
I think that's so relatable.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us carry those, financial anxieties from our childhood, whether we're aware of it or not. And the book also talks about the importance of understanding the psychological traps that we often fall into when it comes to money.
Yes.
We talked about narrow framing earlier, but what are some other common pitfalls?
Well, one that comes to mind is something called loss aversion.
Loss aversion, okay.
And basically it means that we tend to feel the pain of a loss more intensely than the pleasure of an equivalent gain.
So for example, losing $100 feels worse.
Yes.
Then gaining $100 feels good.
Exactly. Okay.
And
this can lead us to make, irrational financial decisions, like holding on to losing investments for too long, or avoiding taking calculated risks that could actually lead to significant gains.
So how do we overcome that?
Right.
How do we become more comfortable with taking those risks?
Right.
And not letting, the fear of loss just paralyze us?
Well, it's about, shifting your perspective from a place of scarcity to a place of abundance.
Okay.
So instead of focusing on what you might lose, focus on the potential gains and the opportunities that that taking a risk might create.
It's about seeing the bigger picture.
Yes.
And not getting so bogged down in those short-term fluctuations.
Exactly. Yeah.
And speaking of seeing the bigger picture, the book also encourages us to think about our financial decisions in the context of our overall life goals.
Yeah.
So how do our finances actually impact our ability to live a fulfilling and meaningful life?
That's such an important question.
Right.
I think it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day management of money.
Right.
Paying bills, tracking expenses, trying to save a little here and there.
Right.
But we need to step back and ask ourselves, what are we ultimately working towards? What kind of life do we want to create?
Yeah.
And how can our finances support that vision?
It's about aligning our financial goals with our life goals.
Yes.
Making sure that our money is working for us
Yeah.
in a way that supports our values and our aspirations.
Exactly. And that might look different for everyone, right?
Right.
For some people, it might mean saving for early retirement so they can pursue their passions.
Right.
For others, it might mean investing in their education or starting a business that gives them, a sense of purpose and fulfillment.
So it's about defining what success means to you.
Yes.
And then using your finances as a tool
Exactly.
to achieve that vision.
I love that.
Okay, and speaking of tools, the book also offers some really practical advice
Yes.
on how to manage your money effectively.
Right.
We talked about the importance of numeracy earlier, but what are some other key skills or habits that can help people improve their financial well-being?
Well, one of the most fundamental habits is tracking your spending. It might seem tedious, but knowing where your money is going is crucial for making, informed financial decisions.
It's about shining a light on those spending patterns.
Yes.
That might be kind of undermining our financial goals.
Exactly.
I know for me,
Yeah.
like tracking my spending was a real eye-opener.
Yeah.
Like I realized I was spending way more on coffee than I thought.
I think we all have those little spending leaks
Yeah.
that add up over time.
Right, right.
And once you're aware of them, you can start making adjustments.
Okay.
And another important skill is learning how to budget effectively.
Budgeting often gets a bad rap.
Yeah, it does.
Like people associate it with deprivation and restriction.
Yeah.
But
It doesn't have to be that way, right?
absolutely not.
Okay.
A budget is simply a plan for how you want to allocate your money.
Okay.
It's about making conscious choices about your spending so that you can prioritize the things that are most important to you.
It's about taking control of your finances
Yes.
rather than letting them control you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And speaking of control, the book also talks about the importance of automating your savings.
Oh,
Can you elaborate on that?
So it's one of the most effective ways to ensure that you're consistently saving money
Okay.
without having to think about it.
Right.
So, set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your savings account each month and treat those savings like a non-negotiable expense.
Right. It's like paying yourself first.
Yes, exactly.
Make sure your savings are taken care of before you even have a chance to spend that money.
Exactly.
And speaking of savings, the book also talks about the importance of investing for the long term.
Yes.
That's where the real magic of compound growth comes in.
Exactly.
The
Exactly.
earlier you start investing,
Yes.
the more time your money has to grow exponentially.
Powerful.
But investing can feel really intimidating,
Yeah.
especially for beginners.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone who's just starting out?
I would say start small. Don't feel like you need to invest a huge chunk of money right away. Even investing a small amount each month can make a big difference over time.
Gotcha.
And do your research.
Okay.
There are, tons of resources available online in libraries that can help you understand the basics of investing.
So it's about taking those first steps and building your knowledge and confidence over time.
Exactly.
And speaking of building, the book also talks about the importance of building a strong financial foundation.
Yes.
What are some key elements of that foundation?
So one is having a good credit score.
Okay.
Your credit score impacts your ability to borrow money
Right.
at favorable interest rates. So it's important to, maintain a good credit history.
That's a good reminder because I think sometimes we forget how much our credit score can actually affect our financial lives.
For sure.
Yeah.
And another key element is having adequate insurance coverage.
Yeah.
Whether it's, health insurance, car insurance, homeowners insurance, having the right insurance can protect you from financial ruin in the event of an unexpected event.
Right. It's about having those safety nets in place.
Yes.
So that you can navigate those, financial storms without derailing your progress.
Totally. And another important part of building a strong financial foundation is having a plan for the future.
Okay.
Whether it's saving for retirement, planning for your children's education, or achieving other financial goals.
Right.
Having a roadmap can really help you stay on track and make progress toward your aspirations.
It's about setting those intentions.
Yes.
And taking those concrete steps to make those dreams a reality.
Totally.
And speaking of dreams, the book also encourages us to dream big.
Yes.
When it comes to our financial future.
I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to set ambitious goals.
Yes.
Whether it's, achieving financial independence, starting your own business, traveling the world. Believe that anything is possible.
Yes.
With the right mindset and a solid plan.
Absolutely.
It's about embracing the power of possibility.
Yes.
And not letting those limiting beliefs hold you back from achieving your full potential.
I love that.
And speaking of potential, the book also talks about the importance of investing in yourself.
Oh, for sure.
Which I think is such a crucial point.
Yes.
Whether it's, pursuing further education, developing new skills, or simply taking care of your physical and mental health.
Right.
Investing in yourself is one of the best investments you can make.
It truly is.
It's about recognizing that you are your most valuable asset and nurturing your growth and your well-being.
Exactly. And that investment will pay dividends in, all areas of your life, not just financially,
Right.
It'll boost your confidence, enhance your relationships, empower you to live a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
And speaking of living a meaningful life, the book also challenges us to think about how we can use our finances to make a positive impact on the world.
Yes.
Right.
It's about recognizing that money is a tool that can be used for good.
Right.
Whether it's, supporting causes you care about, investing in sustainable businesses,
Right.
or simply being mindful of your consumption habits.
Right.
We all have the power to use our finances to create, a more just and equitable world.
It's about aligning your spending with your values.
Yes.
And using your financial resources to make a difference.
Totally.
And speaking of making a difference, the book also encourages us to share our financial knowledge and wisdom with others.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether it's mentoring young people, teaching financial literacy classes,
Right.
or simply having open and honest conversations with our friends and family about money.
Exact.
We can all play a role in breaking down that stigma surrounding finances and empowering others to take control of their financial lives.
It's so important.
It's about creating this ripple effect of financial empowerment
Yes.
and helping others achieve their
I
dreams.
love that.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this second part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We've explored such a wide range of topics,
Yeah.
from practical money management tips
Yeah.
to these deeper philosophical questions about what it means to live like a rich and fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
And in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to bring it all together
Awesome.
and explore some actionable steps you can take
Yes.
to put these ideas into practice and create a financial life that truly aligns with your values and aspirations.
I'm excited.
So stay tuned. It's been quite a journey, right? Like exploring our relationship with money and figuring out how to make it work for us instead of the other way around.
Yeah, for sure.
And, this whole idea of defining enough, it's really stuck with me. It's like this powerful antidote to that constant pressure to just have more.
It is. It's kind of a radical concept, especially in a society that's so built on, endless growth. And that idea,
Right.
exactly, the book really challenges that, suggesting that maybe this pursuit of more could actually be hurting our well-being.
Right.
And even the planet.
It's like we're all on this treadmill, right? And we're constantly striving for something that's always just out of reach. What if we just step off the treadmill and say, wait, what does it actually mean to be successful?
Yeah.
What if we focus on, creating a life that's rich in experiences and relationships and purpose?
Right.
Not just, all this stuff.
Yeah, that's the essence of this new roadmap that the book talks about.
Yeah.
It's about shifting our focus, from acquiring more to appreciating what we have,
Right.
from consuming mindlessly to living intentionally.
And, when we were talking about raising financially savvy kids earlier, I think this concept of enough is so important to teach them too.
Absolutely. It's about, showing them that true wealth isn't about the size of your bank account or the number of things you own.
Right.
It's about, those rich experiences, the strong relationships, the positive impact you have on the world.
It's about raising a generation that's not so focused on just the stuff, but more on, making a difference.
Exactly.
And speaking of making a difference, the book also talks about, the importance of aligning our spending with our values.
Yeah, being mindful of where our money's going, and making sure it's supporting businesses and causes that we truly believe in.
Yeah.
Using our financial resources to create a world that's, more just and sustainable and equitable.
It's like voting with our wallets.
Yeah.
And using our purchasing power to actually create positive change.
Totally.
One of the most empowering things that I've taken away from this whole deep dive is this realization that we have way more control over our financial lives than we often think we do. It's not about being a financial expert or having a huge income.
Right.
It's about making those conscious choices.
Yeah.
Setting intentions, taking small steps every day to build a financial life that, that supports our goals and our values.
Totally. It's about taking ownership of our finances.
Right.
And using them as a tool to create the life we want instead of letting them control us.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into personal finance, rational spending, saving, and financial freedom, I want to leave you with this.
Okay.
I want you to imagine for a moment that you've achieved your ideal relationship with money. What does that look like?
Yeah, take a moment to really visualize it.
Yeah.
What kind of life are you living? What are you spending your time doing? Who are you surrounded by?
All right, how does it feel?
Yeah.
And now Ask yourself, what's one small step you can take today to start moving in that direction? Maybe it's creating a budget, automating your savings, or even just having like an open and honest conversation with your partner or your family about money.
Yeah, those are great steps to start with.
It's like that saying, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Right.
Every step you take towards aligning your finances with your values and your aspirations is a step towards a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
Absolutely.
So keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep, right? We hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights and inspiration.
Yeah.
And don't forget to check out Personal Finance, Rational Spending, Saving, and Financial Freedom for even more guidance on your financial journey.
It's a great resource.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating the life you truly desire.